So you've played with Robert Fripp for decades.
Yes,
Robert,
decades.
Yeah, decades. So Robert has a pretty well-known stance on photography. Can you talk about? I have a couple of angles here. First, one reason he says he doesn't like photographs is because it takes him away from the music.
Mm-hmm.
But as a photographer playing this complex music, you were taking photos in the middle of these concerts. So
Yes.
I'm curious, like, how do you play such complex music and take photographs? How do you be mindful doing both, especially when the guy, 15 feet to your left says, I can only, like, musicians need to focus and be present and all of that.
That's true. All of what you said is true, and it's been 40 years now that I've been making music and collaborating with Robert Fripp, and what an experience it's been. That was it's been more than 40 years. It was in 1976. I met him on the Peter Gabriel session in 76, and I'm still making music with Peter Gabriel also. And Robert's views on photography have changed through the years, and I don't question him about them, but I've heard him speak about them, and it's really fascinating. And in the early years, when a lot of the pictures in this collection are from, he just made an exception. For Tony can take pictures. I don't want anyone else taking pictures. I don't like pictures, but Tony can take pictures. And the other side of what you asked about is very interesting. Taking pictures can separate you. And I mentioned before that I always have some part of my mind is looking at the light on different people and trying to be aware of if there's something that there's an image there that wants to be captured. But through the years, I learned to really separate that from, it's not really on my mind, it's just kind of in the back of my mind. And I do, in King Crimson, you have to concentrate on the music 100%. And I can't, let me think of some specific examples. First of all, in 81, when I joined the band, and in the subsequent 4 years, I had the camera on a tripod behind me with a squeeze bulb. Talk about an analog device, a squeeze bulb that would push air through a tube and then push a little device down on the shutter, and it would take the picture. And so I would have to focus and do the exposure before the show for a specific picture or for an area, for a range, usually myself. And then if something happened, if a fan came up or if Adrian came over to me or something like that, much more dynamic with Peter Gabriel when he might come over to me and jump or something or stick something in my face. And so I didn't want to distract myself by squeezing that bulb with my hand, so I had it among my foot pedals. So at any time I'm playing the music, but okay, something's good happened, I'm not going to really look at it. I'm just going to hit with my foot and just see if I get lucky and there'll be a picture. But having done that for tour after tour, and looking at the results, mind you, with a big delay before I could see the result, I got a sense of, okay, there's an opportunity when we do this piece to get a good shot, and I'm going to really think about the music, but I'm going to hit that foot pedal more times. Kind of the little other part of my brain, just hit the foot pedal a few times, and once in a while I would get lucky.
Mm. When did the stance on photography change to just no photography? Was that when the seven-headed beast got together?
Yes, it was, and Robert had a wonderful new way of announcing to the audience, no photos. And as I remember it, sometimes my memory is not perfect, but as I remember it, the first tour, I did take pictures. I didn't feel like that applied to me. So I took some pictures during the show. It's not an adventurous show where people are running around, so I didn't take many pictures. And I put them on my web diary like I like to. That's why I take them. And I had a few complaints, legitimate ones, I think. People said, you're telling me not to take pictures, and I see you taking a picture. Why are you doing that, or something? So I decided by the second tour we did, I think the second tour, that I wouldn't take pictures either. And I mentioned that to Robert. I said, we like having pictures of the tour, but I'm going to take them until we go on stage, and then after we go off stage. And he suggested that we make we do a little variation of this idea, and that after we've played the last piece, I will take pictures, and the audience can take pictures. And ever since then, he's been announcing to the audience that when Tony picks up his camera, everybody can take their videos, their vids, and their photos. It's worked out well.
When people are taking shots from the audience, it's not an artistic pursuit. They're not checking for the right light, focus, these kinds of things. It's a pretty different pursuit that you have. So to me, it seems like what you're doing is trying to produce something artistic or capture a moment in which you are truly involved. So do you feel that those two things are different, or do you feel like, if I'm taking photos, it's the same in essence as the audience, just wanting to hold up a cell phone and hope they get something in focus, not blurry?
It's an interesting subject, and it's changed through the years, but it hasn't changed also. We used to laugh a lot because in the old days when people didn't turn their in the old days, not cell phones, but they didn't turn their flash off. And at the point of the show that has the biggest lighting change, let's say a Genesis concert with amazing very lights and things going on all over the place, you'll see a few flashes go off, and the people don't realize or don't care that they're actually not only ruining the lighting effect, but they're not going to get the lighting effect because of their flash. But we understand, or I understand, that really the professional photographers in the pit, in the front, are taking professional photos for sure for their profession and in an artistic way. Everybody else is affected by the passion of the moment, and they're excited about the concert, and I can't blame them at all. They're excited and they want to capture that moment and in whatever way they can, and that's why they take pictures. So that's the way it was until cell phones came along, and that kind of got out of hand. And also I don't need to tell people this, but when you hold your cell phone up and it has a screen, everybody behind you, that's part of what they see in the concert. And if you have 100 people holding them up or 1,000, as we all know, the experience of the concert is diminished to some extent. And if it's not a hammer you over the head show, if it's a King Crimson show, which revolves very much about sophisticated, complex music and listening to it, like a classical concert, you wouldn't go to it. Nobody would go to an opera and take a flash picture or hold their cell phone up, or just about nobody, because it would be looked down at, because it would disparage the experience for everyone else in the audience. So Robert has brought that to the rock and roll concert experience, wisely so, and it's fine. And people, I relate to the people in the audience who want to take that picture, and they're excited and they want to do it, and they're thinking, well, nobody will notice if I do it. So I don't really blame them myself for doing that. I understand the process. Very different than for me on the stage, where I tend, in King Crimson concerts nowadays, I don't take pictures during the concert at all. But if it's a Peter Gabriel show or some other show, I tend to do it at a time that I'm not the focus of the music. So it's not that I'm sneaking it in and nobody will know. But if they see me doing it, it's just kind of, well, that's what Tony's doing. He's really not playing here. He's got a few bars off. So I can take those a bar or two here, or maybe a whole 2 minutes that I'm not playing, and try and capture the moment in some way from stage. And I hope when I do that, I am aware that I'm doing it and people could see me, and I hope that I'm not distracting them from the music. I think I'm not, because I'm rarely in the front center. And if I'm in the front center, I would be taking pictures of the audience themselves and let them enjoy the results of the picture.
You mentioned earlier you wait for an image to reveal itself to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this idea that the perfect performance can exist if you can align yourself with it. And then Trey Gunn said to me that he doesn't believe anyone invents anything, that they discover it. He says, musicians are like archaeologists, not like inventors. The music is already there. It's the musician's job to sort of dig it up, find it, and discover it, become one with it. Could you talk about your sensibilities as a photographer and a musician for discovering when is the music presenting itself, when is the image presenting itself, and how you might have honed that sensibility over time?
Interesting. I would counter with a different analogy. I sometimes, especially in a band that's improvising, really improvising with no rules, or improvising a lot of the time, I sometimes feel like the band is a band of hunters, that the audience and band together are a village or a tribe, and that these particular people have been sent out with their bows and arrows, or literally bows and cellos, to see what they can bring back with. And when it's improvised, really improvised, you don't know. There's some, I've done quite a bit of it, especially with Pat Mastelotto in Stickman, in King Crimson, and with Hobo Lima, with Alan Holdsworth and Terry Bozzio. Completely, a whole show of complete improv. And it really inspired me. It was very difficult after the first week when I had already played every riff I ever dreamed of. But really inspiring, because sometimes you come back with very little, but some meager thing, and the audience or the tribe will willingly share in that. And sometimes you come back with a feast. Sometimes you get lucky, or as Trey would say, it's there, and you discovered a trove of good things. And so I like that analogy, and I sometimes even think about it while I'm playing. I'm out here hunting for the best performance, the best way to approach this music, and I hope it's a good day. And if it isn't, I'll forgive myself. I won't blame myself for that, but I'm very aware that if it is, somehow the audience and band are involved together in that process. It's not just the band, because the band is the same every night, and it would be the same every night if not for the audience.
Mm-hmm.